So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll let anybody else who wanders in wander in. So I just want to say thank you for coming out to our first ever Undergraduate Scholars Forum. The purpose of this is really informal. We're just hoping to give you some information about what research and creative activities looks like on campus, how you could be a part of them, and then open it up for question and answers at the end so that we can get your feedback on some resources we're trying to build to kind of make your life easier and get you involved in research and or creative activities earlier in your time here at Sam Houston. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce, does anybody know what the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs is? No? So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our Chief Research Officer, Dr. Chad Hargrave, to come up and give us a little insight into what he does and hopefully tell us an inspirational story or two about how he got to where he is now. You can use either or. They're both on.
Hi, y'all. That was like a lightsaber. My name is Chad Hargrave. I'm the Associate Provost in the Office of Research. So the reason we're having these forums, so let me tell you briefly about the Office of Research. It really applies to faculty. It doesn't apply to students directly. So what we do is we help faculty find grant funding to fund their work. It could be research or any form of scholarship that is like non-teaching, the stuff faculty do outside of the classroom. So if you're not aware of that, faculty in faculty appointments, they have a number of responsibilities that are linked to their appointment. 40% of that is teaching. 40% of it is research or some other scholarly activity. So if you're like an English professor, you would be writing poems or books or something like that. I'm not an English professor, I'm a biologist, so I don't know exactly what English professors do, but they're analyzing literature and so forth. Biology professors, they're typically in the laboratory doing research related to, like, I was a fish ecologist, I was out in the field studying fish in rivers and streams and so forth. So that's that's a responsibility of faculty. Then another piece of the faculty time commitment is to service to their profession, to the university, and the general community. So the Office of Research, we're responsible for that, helping faculty with that 40% scholarship, research, scholarly activity piece. That it typically takes resources to do that kind of work. So if you're an English professor and you want to, go through the archives in a library in London, you need funding to go to London to go through those archives to do your work. There are external sponsors that are willing to provide funding that would allow faculty members to do that research. It's easy to understand from the biological or chemistry side of things. You guys are all aware of like biomedical research, right? Because it affects us directly, so we care about it. But so you've heard of the National Institutes of Health. They provide grant dollars to people that are doing health, biomedical type related research. That's an example of a funding opportunity. What my office does is we try to help faculty get connected with those funding sources so that we can get external money from sponsors, wherever they may be, into the university to help fund that activity. Some of that funding can be used for students. So to me, there's a synergy that exists at a university. It's the faculty members doing their scholarship and teaching and service, but there's a large mentorship component to a faculty's role. You see that mentorship in the classroom when they're teaching you your curricular content, but there's an entire teaching aspect of being a faculty member that's outside of the classroom. We call those high impact practices. Kelby's going to talk about that a little bit. Those high impact practices can often align with the faculty member scholarship. So if you're interested in English, if you're an English major, you could be connected with a faculty member who's going to London, who's going to go look through some archives, and they might take you with them to help as their assistant and help go through that work. A biologist, I might hire you to help me collect fish in a river. Or as a chemist might hire you to help put stuff in beakers. We have a chemist in the room, so I had to pick on him a little bit. So EURECA is the Center for Undergraduate Engagement. What I just described, you working with the faculty members' undergraduate engagement. So we have a center on campus that's been around for about 10 years that focuses on helping students get connected with faculty. For a long time, that center was outside of my office, the office that oversees faculty research and scholarship on campus. But just recently, we decided to merge the two. And the reason is because I just described it to you. Faculty members get secure funding. The faculty member obviously benefits, but you all can also be direct recipients and benefit directly from those dollars. And in addition to just receiving the dollars, you can get engaged in an activity that you might not be engaged in otherwise. So we felt that by putting the two units together, the center and my office together, we would be able to do a much better job at connecting you all, the students, with those faculty out there that have opportunities or are looking for students to engage. We've sort of learned, the reason we decided this, we sort of learned over time that some students across campus were having a hard time, they were interested in it, they were having a hard time connecting with faculty, and vice versa. I've had faculty contact me, hey, do you know any undergrads that I could hire? Because I have some grant money and I don't have anyone, no one's knocking down my door to work with me. So we felt like it was this natural relationship to merge that office with mine. Why should you, so the purpose of these four, we did a forum yesterday, we're doing one today. The purpose of it is to get your feedback, because the best way we can serve you is to understand what your needs are. What are the problems? What are the roadblocks? What are the barriers? What are the things that you have seen that work well so we can enhance those? Or what are the things that you think that we could change so we can change those things to better fit you? If we're going to do something for you all, the best people to talk to are you all. I can give my input, but I don't know anything about you all. I do have a daughter about your age, and that just proves I don't know anything about you, because she reminds me every day how little I know about her. Okay, sidebar. Okay, let me tell you why you should get engaged. So first of all, you all are sitting here, so obviously you're interested in some way, or maybe you just came for the free food, I'm not sure. But regardless, since you're here, I'll tell you a quick story that I think demonstrates why you should take advantage of this opportunity that exists at Sam Houston State in particular. We have a group of faculty, we have about 650 faculty on campus. And all of the ones I've worked with, which is a lot of them, can't remember, I don't know the exact number, but I've worked with a lot of faculty on campus. I know the faculty pretty well. They all love engaging and mentoring undergraduates. That's the value of Sam Houston State, in my opinion. It's one of the things that makes us one of the most, a really unique campus, and probably one of the best campuses that I'm aware of in the U.S. My daughter doesn't go to college. She hasn't decided to go yet. I'm not going to force her, which is difficult given I'm a professor. But if I do tell her, I praise Sam Houston State, and I'm like, you should go to a school, you should go to Sam Houston State or a school like Sam Houston State, because the opportunities here are amazing. Let me describe my experience as an undergrad, because I think my experience could easily relate or translate into your experience. And it might already be your experience. And the experience I'm going to describe is an experience that probably many of our faculty have had. I know they have, because I've talked to them, and most every faculty member I talk to tells me of a similar experience, which ultimately led to their career choice. So when I was an undergrad, your guys' age probably, maybe a little, yeah, probably about 18 or 19. You guys are probably a little older than that, 20. I was 18 or 19, maybe 20, I can't remember. I was in a biology class. So I went to college. I actually went to a community college first. I wasn't the best high school student, had other interests, I guess. But when I graduated from high school, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to college. I didn't really know much. I just thought that was the thing you do. So I went to a community college to get my feet wet. The first class I had, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I loved it. And it was a biology class. It was, kind of the core, your standard stuff. But the biology class I loved. It just clicked with me. So I did really well in it. I kind of just did well in college in general, just because I think it was like super interesting to me. The next semester, I took another biology class, same professor. And that it was sort of halfway through the semester, and that professor came in and said, I have a job that I'd like, if I have a job to work with me in my fish collection. This professor was an ichthyologist. That's the study of fish, if you're not aware. He's like, I'm an ichthyologist. I'm looking for a student to help me with my collection. If you're interested, stay after class. I didn't have a job at the time, so I stayed after class, and he told what the hourly rate was, and it was like $6 an hour, and back in those days, that was a lot. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stay after that. I think minimum wage is like $4, $4.25. That was 1993. So, which was a long time ago. It seems like just yesterday, but it was a long time ago. Stayed after class. I applied for it, talked to him, did a little interview, whatnot. There were a couple students that did it, and I ended up getting the job. I didn't, really know what I was just applying for the job. I just wanted the job. I just wanted a job, and that sounded cool, so I stayed after. Turned out that I ended up working for this faculty member as a research assistant, an undergraduate research assistant. And he had a massive fish collection that he was recurating, so I helped him do that. I made all the labels, identified the fish, and I was learning a huge amount. And I'm like, man, this is so cool. Then he invited me to go into the field with him to go collect fish to add to his collection, because that's what ichthyologists do. They run around, they look for new fish species, and they add them to their collections, and he wrote books and stuff. So I went with him, and I'm an outdoorsy person. I probably don't look like it, but I actually have hiked in my suit before. I think Kelby's seen me do that. But I'm an outdoorsy person, always have been. So I'm out in the field with this person collecting fish. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. And then he invited me to go on an expedition to look for this fish this rare fish in Arkansas. Had never been actually documented in the state before. And I went with him, and it was like a week-long trip, and we were just out on this river this entire time looking for this fish. And it's kind of adventurous, and we were in boats on the Red River. You guys know where the Red River is? Borders Oklahoma and Texas. So we were down in the southwest corner of Arkansas, where Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas all meet. Oh, and Oklahoma. I actually got my degree in Oklahoma, so I have nothing against Oklahoma. But so we're driving on this river, and in this boat one morning, and the sun's kind of coming up over the pine trees, and I look up, and I said this yesterday to the group, and I'll say it again. I've said this many, many times, because this is part of the story that's the most important, is I remember that sun coming up on the river, summer. It was awesome, just beautiful. I was just like really feeling it. And I just remember thinking, I can't believe you can do this for a living. So I was like, at that point in time, I'm like, I'm going to pursue this passion, because it just became a passion of mine. So I continued doing undergraduate research with this professor. I stayed at that community college like as long as I possibly could, because I was just loving it. Finally, I couldn't take any more classes that were going to contribute to anything, a degree or whatnot. So I'm transferred to the University of Arkansas. That professor I was working for, though, at that small 2-year school, called a professor that he knew at University of Arkansas. I was like, hey, you need to take this kid, Chad. I don't know what he said exactly, but he said, take this kid, Chad. So I went up to Arkansas, started working in his lab as an honors student. I actually got into honors college at that point to do a research project, did my research. And then at the end of that, I decided to apply to grad schools, and I got into grad school at University of Oklahoma, and that kind of sets the trajectory of my career, my academic career. And here I am. I was hired here in 2006 as an assistant professor in biology. I became the chair of biology, and now I'm the associate provost of the Office of Research. I don't really do much research anymore, but what I get to do is what I described initially, is I get to help faculty from across campus do their research. And that is super rewarding. And now I get to that story I just told you about my experience. Now we're going to try to increase those numbers of mentorships across campus. So the fact that y'all are here is great. Take this message to first of all, engage us and get involved, and allow us to help you get engaged with faculty so that you can have an experience like that. But also tell your friends about EURECA. We want to create a sense of community. We want all undergraduates who want to experience something outside the classroom with faculty, expand your educational opportunities. We want to facilitate, make that happen. And we have the people, the resources in my office to help facilitate that, make it happen. So stay in touch with us, Kelby in particular. thank you for coming. I think I had one more thing to say, but I forgot what it was. With that, yeah, actually, I may have to leave a little bit early, so I apologize. It's not because I don't find this interesting. I do. It's just I have an office I have to go back to, have work to do. Anyways, if y'all have any questions, you can stay in touch with us. You can email me directly. You might see me across campus, ask me questions then. But thanks for coming, and tell your friends.
Thank you. So now I'm going to announce the director of EURECA, Dr. Madhu Chowdhury, who's had a big role in its creation, and so he can probably give you some insight.
Thank you. My name is Madhu Chowdhury, and I'm a professor in Department of Biological Science, and also director of EURECA, which is now a part of ORSP. And Dr. Hargrave described the importance of merging this to have a bigger platform and bigger resources and available to really execute our plan and program and funding and other things. So I'll tell you, personally, I thought that I'll tell you about one project which I am doing as a mentor. And then I'll tell you something that what is research is. Of course, we have heard that high impact practices. So if I remember, like long time back in a Socratic tradition, the high impact practices were talking about ideas. Then the medium-sized things is talking about places and events. And the lowest is talking about person. I tell in my genetics class, people ask me, do I have to remember the name of the person who discovered this? I told not at all. I'm not interested who did it, how they did it. I want the real idea. What is that idea? So this is here that the research or creative activity is creating a new idea or filling the gap between the ideas, making a kind of mopping up operation for a bigger picture. See, like a puzzle? If I give you a kind of puzzle of a tree with fruits and everything, if you take a piece, it does not look anything. But if you put it together, it will look like a beautiful tree with fruits. And that's the research is. Research is an idea, imagination, which can create a new paradigm in any field. So yes, it is a high impact practices. Can you think that for the whole day when we are to stay around, how long you talk about ideas? I don't too much, I'm telling you. So the day when I have ideas thinking, I am blessed that day. I go and drink because I got an idea today. Otherwise, we do these kind of, practices. Now, I'll tell you, as a researcher or a mentor, I have a project which is really very much exciting for me and for my research group. So you all know the space flight, and NASA sends some live organism in space, like fruit flies, some insects, some worms, all these things to study how the lifespan of this organism is, how the reproductive cycle of this organism is. And while I was reading it, I found that the life cycle of animal or plants get extended a little bit. Means if you stay in a space, you will have a longer lifespan. When I was reading this, I was thinking, it's amazing. Just let me try that on bacteria, what happens. So I have 3 undergraduate students currently working in my lab, and they are growing. So we actually borrowed an instrument from NASA, which is mimicking the microgravity. That is chamber, which can actually put through and kind of simulate the lower gravity level than 1G, or normal gravity. And we saw that the bacteria grow much more rapidly in microgravity condition than normal gravity. Now, as a geneticist, I'm not interested in only the cell grow and have more cells. Now I'm doing, another student is doing the gene expression, that which genes of the entire gene in that bacteria have turned on the higher expression or lower expression to really induce that kind of viability. So that's interesting for me, connecting genes to the morphology, to the ecology or the ecological condition, or to the space condition where the organism lives. And that's the integration I'm interested in sometime. Organism with the environment, with their metabolism, how they work. So that's my kind of, like a research project. I thought that maybe I'll give you something from biology, that's what people do, biologists. Because I know that there are field biology when people go and look at organismal biology. Sometimes people look at kind of, like a cellular biology, at the gene level, molecular biology, and we have a different layers of biology where we do research. And I do tell you that Department of Biology is really very rich in that way, having all different subdisciplines in the biological science. So if you have any friend in biological science, just tell them to see me or somebody. Besides, you can come openly and talk about research, and we can connect you with the research faculty in other department. Thank you.
So now that we've kind of heard from some of the directors of both ORSP and the Center for EURECA, I really want to talk about the merge and where we're hoping to take this and expand this. So we now have a physical space. So we're next door to the Office of Research within it, the Center for EURECA. So I'm going to introduce one of my colleagues who works in the Office of Research and tell you a little bit more finer scale what they do on the grant side of things in the office.
How y'all doing today? My name is Jonathan Thomas, and I'm just going to piggyback off what Dr. Hargrave said. So my title is the Coordinator of Research and Proposal Development. I focus on the faculty side, while Cubby focuses on the student engagement engagement. And so my personal story is I went to HBU University, Houston Baptist University. There really wasn't a research focus. So I took a course in my senior year, and Dr. Kylie Studer introduced me to research, and I really wasn't too impressed with it, honestly. I wasn't really wanting to do it, but I had to do it in order to graduate. So as I continued with the course, she really opened my eyes and really gave me a real understanding of what research means. And then that led me to go and get my master's degree. Again, it wasn't really research focused, but it was really an opportunity for me to really see what higher ed is all about. So really what our job is to engage. We're really service-based. We want to be like customer service. So if you ever have any questions for us about grants or anything like that, just reach out to us. We definitely answer your questions. We're starting to do a little bit more with scholarships. We're starting to do a little bit more with those fellowships, things like that. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us where we help you get you in line with a faculty member or more things like that. So if you look at this, and basically we're in this position right here where the project conception, where we really just help you. If you have an idea about research or have an idea about what you want to do, whatever it is that you want to do, reach out to us. We'll help you refine that, find the faculty member that has a loose interest in that, or maybe they have a real target interest in that. Maybe the professor that you take in, maybe back in your, I don't know, sophomore or freshman year that you said, oh, they said something about that before. We probably can get in contact with them a lot quicker and help you with those things like that. So grant writing, things like that, we're just writing in general. We help you with projects and stuff like that if we could. We're looking to expand our services. So whatever you reach out to us about, we definitely can help you out, or we can put you in a direction where you could get the potential help with it. So if y'all have any more questions, definitely reach out to us, or we'll be here after the event and we'll help you out with that. Thanks.
Thank you. So as you can tell, we're very story driven, and I think that goes a lot to say that we all have a story about mentorship. And so I just want to briefly touch on my story. So I actually was a Bearcat back in 2007. And so like all of you, I was curious about research, didn't know what that meant, but I was a theater student. So I got a degree in theater. And while I was doing my practices, I actually got the opportunity to do a Disney internship where I was friends with Chip and Dale. And during that time, I had a lot of time to think, and I was getting ready to graduate. I wasn't really prepared to graduate and go into the workforce. I really liked school. I wanted to study other things, and I really just wasn't ready for my scholarly journey to end. So while I was there, I had friends that worked at SeaWorld, and I thought that their jobs were really cool. Some of them were going back and getting biology degrees in, specifically in marine biology. And so I thought, man, maybe that's something that I can do, and I can merge both science and art. So I came back to campus the following semester, and I connected with the chair of the biology department. I thought, I'm also a scuba diver. My family have always been kind of naturalists, been outdoorsy. Maybe I would like science, but maybe not. I don't know. And so I reached out and said, hi, I'm a theater student. I've never taken a science class. Don't know really what scientists do. I think I might be interested in marine biology. Could you put me in contact with some marine biologists maybe in your department? He graciously wrote back and said, no, we don't have anybody who does marine biology, but we have 2 aquatic biologists that study things in fresh water. And he put me directly in contact with them, and about 2 weeks later, I was working out in the deserts of West Texas on some tiny fish. So that wasn't exactly my aim, but that is where my path led me. And from there, I completely changed my trajectory, fell in love with desert systems, and I spent actually the next 10 years studying fish that live in the desert. So a long stretch from working with whales or dolphins or at SeaWorld. But it was something that I never knew existed, you know, and had I not had that first encounter of actually doing a high impact practice, doing student research, even as a 3rd year, 4th year student getting ready to graduate, I wouldn't have known what science is or does or can be. And so that's just to illustrate how meaningful these interactions can be. And so I went on to get a PhD, and I just finished my postdoc. And one of the major driving forces behind staying in school that long is I really love the mentorship approach. So I've mentored, you know, many students, undergraduate students, and even graduate students. And so to be in this position where I'm now coordinating student research and helping connect faculty and students across campus is really, really rewarding for me. So I just carry this passion into our new student coordinator position. And then I hope that you feel comfortable to reach out to me. I want to hear about your stories, and we really just want to, increase the accessibility for you to do and participate in these types of interactions. So has anybody heard what a high impact practice is before today? Right? It's kind of a term that we throw out in education, and it really just means any type of activity where you receive a lot of intellect back, like you learn something. At the end of a project where you spend some time on, you're able to demonstrate maybe a new skill, a new thing that you can put on your resume, something that's so impactful that it changes you, right? And so there's actually a lot of different types of high impact practices in education, and this list is probably not exhaustive of all of them, right? Even just talking to a faculty mentor about your career path, that could be a high impact practice because that could change your trajectory and or you leave with new knowledge. But some of the more common ones are undergraduate research and creative activities. Is anybody from the humanities or arts? So that looks, yes. We also work with students over there. That looks different than traditional research, right? That might be going dancing, to a dancing convention in Italy. That might be, being able to participate in some workshop in Houston, painting. We see it, in all different types of ways. So we do serve both research and creative activities. But some of the other examples are writing intensive courses. We have new community learning centers. So all of these are just coming around to say that high impact practices can be excellent predictors for student success. So based on a lot of data actually, if you participate in more than 2 high impact practices, the likelihood of your success goes up. So it is really important for the overall college experience, and as you've heard the stories before mine, they really can change your life. So we just want to touch on, that's what you're participating in. They're called high impact practices, and there's a lot of research that shows that it really increases your success as a student. So just to say that, I'm not going to read off our mission statement for EURECA, but it's really just to help connect faculty members with students so that you can all have these types of experiences. So currently, Eureka has 2 grants that have been offered. Have any of you heard of the FAST grant? So undergraduate students actually participate with a faculty member. This takes place over the summer. So a faculty member can apply for this grant. It can you can work with up to 3 students. There's money in it both for the student and for the faculty member. And then you conduct some kind of research and or whatever the creative activity looks like in your discipline over the course of the summer. And then the second thing that we offer is the STAP Award, which is the Student Travel and Professional Presentation Awards. So if you get involved in research and or any creative activity and you would like to present your research somewhere, we can help fund you to go and do that. So that's kind of 2 of the biggest notable items that the Center for Eureka houses and you might hear used on campus. So as we were looking at building this out between ORSP and the Center for Eureka, my position was created to help with the merge. And then as I had been working to do this, I really wanted to involve students in this process, right? So this is really unique. This is new for our university. So I wanted to do this with intention, and I couldn't think of a better way than to involve you all, right, as part of this process. So the first step in us doing that was to hire a group of students. So I'm not the one making all the decisions. To really see what students needed and or what the current experience on campus was. So STEAM, standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math, kind of covers all of the breadth of experiences that are happening on campus, was created. And so we have a few of our members here today. I'm going to introduce them, let them tell you a little bit more about their story, because like me, they can also be ambassadors. So if you see them around campus and you have questions, you can reach out to them. With that being said, I'll go ahead and introduce one of our STEAM team members, Kate Chandler.
Hi, like she said, my name's Kate. I'm a member of the STEAM team. I'm a senior here at SAM, and I'm studying environmental science in the sustainability track. After I graduate, I'd really like to go into the workforce. I want to work in conservation and the implementation of sustainable practices worldwide. I joined the STEAM team actually because I wanted to learn more about grants and proposals myself, and I wanted more students to learn about the importance of research and creative activities regardless of if you want to go on to get a master's or a doctorate or something like that. So speaking about that, like I said, I don't really plan on getting a master's, and so I thought, well, I don't need to do research because it's not important, and I'm not going to do that, so I don't need it. And then I actually worked over the summer with the Sam Houston State Natural History Collections, and I worked on digitizing their herbarium, which if you don't know what that is, it's like a bunch of dried plant specimens. And so we worked on getting those into an online database, so if something happens to the physical specimens, we still have those available for other people to use in their research. And so doing that really taught me that I want to work in the field. It told me, what jobs I want to look to apply for when I graduate. And then, can you go to the next slide? This is another member of our team. He's in class right now, so he can't be here. But his name is Nathaniel Rodriguez. He's a sophomore studying psychology, and he wants to become a neuropsychologist. So that's just another member of our team. And then Valerie's next.
Hello everyone, my name is Valerie Gutierrez. I'm a sophomore here at SAM. I'm an EC through 6 bilingual education major. After graduation, I basically plan to obviously go into teaching. I want to teach first or second around those 2 grades in elementary. I joined the STEM team to learn about different opportunities in regards to research and the grants process. That way I can help other students get more involved and learn about them as well. This is one of our other members. Her name, she goes by Palumi. She's a biomedical science major. She's a junior, and she wants to become an OBGYN and open clinics and around in Nigeria in the hopes of enhancing young women about feminine care and providing a safe space for them to express themselves.
Great, thank you. And so do y'all want to talk about the mission statement? It'll be better coming from them.
Our mission as a team, we are striving to aid y'all, the SHSU students, in their education by bridging gaps between faculty and students, educating students about research and grants process, and connecting students with available opportunities. Things we intend on doing are one, redesigning the Eureka website, which we've been currently working on, and collaborating with other student organizations, informing students on new opportunities, and interviewing professors and other faculty. One of our main things is planning more events to just make y'all more aware that we're here, you know, and establishing a transparent process into research and scholarship. And just a reminder for y'all to be on the lookout for us on the yard or on social media, which will be at the end of the presentation.
Thank you. So kind of talking about what our new initiatives look like, I wanted to give some time to let a faculty mentor give their story, talk about their experience in working with students, and I believe part of this research was involved with the FAST grant also. So we're going to hear that, and then we're going to hear from some students on their side of this whole interaction. So I will introduce Dr. Viata.
All right, so good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Adrian Villalta Cerdas. I'm a chemistry faculty, and I'm originally from Costa Rica. And if you know something about Costa Rica, is we care about nature. Everything has to be natural, organic, green, and very clean. So we care a lot about the environment, and the country has a lot of tourism because of it. It's actually very pretty. So what you're seeing here is the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, has marked for us very nicely every single site that is contaminated with something. So there's a lot of places, yes. Most of them are very close to water sources. So lakes, rivers, the Gulf. This is Texas, by the way, just in case you don't care about the rest, but we have a lot. So I think for research, we should have a purpose. And my purpose here is, can we actually do something for this? And one of the things that I like a lot is money. So, Alexandra, do you like money? I like money. I don't like money. I love money. And I love spending money even more. So, the US has estimated very nicely for us, this is a very low estimate, that we need to spend $370 billion to clean this up. This is a low estimate. You might double it very easily. What it means is we have to pay people to go into these places and clean them up, which means if you start a company, it's a lot of money. So each one of those places is just money waiting for you to pick it up. So what I want to do is create something for that process to be faster. And I want to remediate, which means this water only has one purpose right now, which is to kill life. So we want to go from 100% pollution to like 50%. We don't have to clean it up completely, but at least it's better. So one way to do that is by using actual organic materials. You've seen charcoal. This is your carbon atoms. Activated carbon is just a fancier version of activated charcoal. But what they do is they act as sponges. So they take a lot of chemicals into their structure. They are three-dimensional, and they can concentrate those into smaller particles that we can then pick up. But what I wanted to do, and people have used this, is try something different. And these are called carbon nano-onions. So they're made out of carbon as well. But what you're seeing here is a microscope picture of the cross-section of one of them. The scale here is 5 nanometers, so they are very tiny. And what you see is circles within circles. This is a three-dimensional structure, and these are spheres within spheres. So they have kind of shells, and so they actually look like onions. So that's what the name comes from. These ones have a very high surface area, but also we know the shape, we know the size, so we can have a control on that. For these materials, we know they have an immense amount of surface area, but as they work as a sponge, sometimes it's really hard to get the material out. With these ones, if they are just on the surface, it will be easier to recycle the material through the process, so we can use them multiple times. That was my idea. So I contacted Sandra Siemens. She was a Gen Chem 1 student with me, and I thought she was very motivated to do stuff, and so I came with an idea, and she actually agreed to it. She didn't know what was going to happen, and we applied for the FAST grant. And I said, well, if they don't give us the money, we don't do anything. That's really cool. But they did. So she worked over the summer. This is last summer. And she collected a lot of information here. we took pictures of the material to make sure it's actually there. One of the things that we were thinking is, well, you come up with this material, you put it in the lake, and now what? You just added more chemicals there. So how do you pick it up? We cannot just filter the entire lake. I mean, it's possible, but nobody's going to do it. So the idea was to, before adding it into the water source, to add iron magnetite nanoparticles. So we're going to make this material magnetic. So to pick it up, all you have to do is drag a magnet around the entire lake, and then that's it, game over. Or have a pipe system in which you surround the pipe with magnets, and the material will actually get attached there as the water goes through. That's good. So we're still working on it. We are now, we actually managed to make it, magnetize it, and test it for different substrates. But we're working on understanding more how this process happens. This is one single layer of the pollutant around the spheres, or it's multiple layers. How long does it take? It takes a month, 1 week, 3 hours. And what if it is endothermic or exothermic? That means, is it better to treat the water in the winter or in the summer? And it changes, so that's important to know. Now, all of this was just funded based on the EURECA Center, the Welsh Foundation, and we have another grant here. But Sandra then took this, and she presented in a couple of places now. This is last fall, during the Southwest Regional Meeting of the American Chemical Society. This was in Austin, so it's close by. And then this one was just this past weekend, the Texas Academy of Science. And we actually applied for this tab, so she didn't have to pay a single dollar for traveling, so which is good. And in a couple of weeks, right after spring break, she will be going to San Diego, California to present this work again. She has been working these semesters too, so we updated the actual work. So we now know a lot more about the kinetics and the equilibrium system, the thermodynamics of this process. That's good. That's pretty much it. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to kind of hear about this from the students' perspective. I'm going to go ahead and announce Kira first because I believe she might need to go to class. Oh, Danielle. Okay, you can come up here first. So this is a student who's actually participated in high-impact practices and research. So we're going to get to hear from the students' perspective.
Hello, y'all. My name is Danielle, and I will be answering some common questions about students and research. So number one question is, when did I first get into research outside of a course? So for me, I spoke with my professor at a meeting, just a one-on-one meeting about something with the nutrition course that we were working on, and he just started asking if I'd be interested in a research project, and I had heard about this research project from another classmate, Taylor Bordeaux. She's a very hardworking young lady, and when I saw she was involved in a research project, I was very interested. So when Professor Boutros introduced me to it, I said, yes, I would like to know more about it. Let's do that. And they say, why did you begin your journey in research? For me, I am a very heavy science major. My degree is nutrition, which is a very, very heavy science-based degree. We have no room for a minor because it's so full of science. And for me, I love that. And something that's very big in nutrition is that we have research for all of our recommendations. Now, that's standard practice for medical degrees. But for me, I was curious about what are limitations of research and what are they able to do, what are they able to decide, what things can go easily wrong, what things can go very well. I was just curious about how, like, the boundaries of research and what they are able to conclude, etc. So I had another question. It says, did I receive a grant or funding or scholarship for this project? I did. I did get a grant for this research project, and it was very helpful for me because it gave me more opportunity to focus on it, to engage with it more. And another question was, what is the biggest hurdle for you when first trying to get into research outside of a course? So for me, when I first heard about this research, it was through a professor that I had coordinated a lot with and spoken with on many occasions. And he said that I stuck up on my work ethic and just my willingness to speak up in class. And so for me, he came to me. But apart from that, when I started looking into more research, I realized it's very hard for me to find research projects going on around me that I would be interested in. Because for me, with my degree of nutrition, I'm also interested in psychology, so there's a lot of psychology when you eat. It's very much the food and the stomach are very much attached for the mind. And so to see this relationship was something I was also considering, and he asked if I would like to be a part of another research study for, let me see if I remember the exact title. It was the impact of food demonstrations on nutritional health. And it's actually with the psychology department. And I was like, yes, I would be very interested. So we are looking into that more. Excuse me, I have notes. One common question that I think can be easily answered by students about misconceptions of research is, what are some misconceptions that students have of research? And for me, when I was first introduced to it, I realized that I had no idea what that meant for a student. I thought it was for doctors. So I said, a student in research, am I going to be a coffee monkey or something? Like, what can I do for this research part? And so my professor, he walked me through the process. Another misconception is that research is very complicated, and it's sometimes the conclusions that we read in different studies throughout different courses, we don't always understand their conclusions or why they're important, because they're not always directly applicable to daily life. And there was a question of how can we combat these misconceptions and improve the research process? So in my mind, something that greatly increases willingness to participate in research is just to realize that this is something that students are definitely able to do. It's designed for students. So as students, you have a natural entry point that you are encouraged to engage in. For me, I enjoyed the mentorship we talked about earlier with my professor. He walked me through the whole process and explained why each part was important to me. And I really enjoyed the whole process of it. And last thing was, what advice do I have for students thinking about getting into research? I would say enjoy the experience. It's a very practical one. It's full of skill sets that you will use in so many places besides just school. It will also follow you through school and look very good in academic environments. So that was all that I had to say on that. Thank you all.
Thank you. So we're going to allow her to get back to class, but if you have any questions, please, I'm sure she is willing to, answer any questions or speak with you about her own personal journey. We have one more student here, Kira, who's going to come talk about her kind of journey, and you're a grad student now, right? So we'll hear about what this looks like from that lens as well.
Hi guys, so I'm Kira. I just graduated with my bachelor's in psychology this past December. So right now I'm a non-degree seeking post-bac student, just retaking a couple classes to better prepare myself before I go off to graduate school. And when it comes to research, I'm really looking into going into the neuroscience field. So right now I'm considering researching things like Alzheimer's and dementia, Huntington's and Parkinson's disease, or potentially drug abuse and addiction. So that's kind of where my path is heading. When it came to research for me, I began my research journey at Sam Houston during the fall 2020 semester, and I started off just by joining one of my professor's labs, and that was Dr. Ratcliffe in the psychology department. And then through that time, that following semester, I joined a second lab, which was Dr. Anastasi's, and then one more, which was Dr. White's psychopharmacology lab. So that's kind of how that journey started for me. And I'm still involved in those labs now, which is a really great opportunity because it's allowing me to get more of that research experience. And I learned about these research opportunities just through hearing professors advertise their labs or recruit or talking about their specific research during those class times. And then I just approached those professors after the fact and was like, hey, I'm interested in joining this lab. How do I go about that? And then so again, like I began my research journey because I know this is a career path that I want to go into. And then because I know I want to go into grad school places a lot of emphasis on research, especially I know for me in the psychology field. So I wanted to start getting kind of a grasp on that to better prepare myself. And through my time in these research labs, I have conducted some research. I've had different experiences depending on the lab that I'm in. So that's what I like about it, because then I've been able to get different things from different labs. I've been able to help put together online surveys. I've been able to conduct in-person research, and I've also been able to conduct annual research. And then through these labs, I've also had the opportunity to put together posters for conferences, which I will be speaking at one in about a month. And then I also helped to put together another poster for another lab. So it's given me concrete experience that I can really apply to graduate school, which I really like. And then another thing that I want to kind of address is like the biggest hurdle for me. So the reason I joined 3 different research labs is because I had a hard time finding out exactly what I wanted to go into. So that's kind of why I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. Let me give this a shot. And I was like, okay, I'm in this. It's cool and it's interesting, but it's not what I want to do. Let's try this. Let's try this. And then that's kind of how I ended up with Dr. White's psychopharmacology lab, and how I kind of settled into this is the path that I want to go into, because it was the research I enjoyed the most and what I learned about the most. And then another thing that how I kind of fell into these is I looked at what classes I was enjoying and who was teaching those classes, what they were doing, and then was able to go from there. So that was kind of the biggest issue, was like finding exactly what I wanted to do. And some common misconceptions that I think we as students have about research is that you have to be experienced, or you have to be an expert in what you're going into, or that you have to be a grad student, or maybe the profs don't want an undergrad student in lab. And I think we can really just combat this by hosting forums like this and outreaching to students, and then encouraging discussions not only in the classroom with your professor and your peers, but also outside the classroom about what you're doing, and just encouraging that conversation about research can be really fun. It doesn't have to be this boring thing. You can do a lot with it. You can learn a lot of different things. So I think just overall encouraging that conversation about research can really help us to kind of improve the opportunity for students. And then if I had to give any advice to students thinking about getting involved in research, it would just be to reach out to your professors again. Just continue to encourage that conversation between faculty and students. You know, don't be afraid to get involved once you're in the lab. You're gonna have a lot of different opportunities once you get involved in research. And I know in my experience, everything is kind of on a voluntary basis. So if something sounds interesting, give it a shot. Don't be afraid to ask for questions or ask for help. You're not expected to be an expert in anything. And look out and reach into different areas, because even though you might not think that you'll like it, but you could end up really enjoying it, and vice versa. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're gonna move into our Q&A session here in just a second. So if you have questions that you want to ask to either our faculty members and or our mentors or our office, we're gonna get ready to open that up. So I just want to briefly touch on a few things that you can take with you as bits of knowledge right now. Is we have the Undergraduate Research Symposium coming up. It's every year. And it happens in April, so I think it's the 3rd week in April every year. So that's something to be on your radar. They have some informational sessions coming up. Also, we have the McNair Scholars Program, which is national. So if you're a minority student interested in maybe getting some research dollars, you can apply to this. They pair you directly with a faculty mentor and give you some money to do research with them. We also have some departmental resources that are hidden. So if you're in the College of Science and Engineering Technology, they do offer some support to travel and or conduct research, as well as the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. If you need resources like that, please reach out to our office so we can help connect you to them as well. I also have 2 faculty members who are looking for students to join in on their research, so I just want to leave this information or give you all this information in case you're interested in starting now. We have a faculty member over in COPA who's taking students, both graduate and undergrad, from any department, because her skills or the skills that she will be teaching you are broadly applicable. So you could use this for any field. And then also, if you're interested in biomedical research, we have a faculty member over at the College of Osteopathic Meds who is also looking for undergraduate students to work in his lab on a current ongoing grant. So this is an excellent opportunity. Again, if you need help, I can help put you in contact with these faculty members and to get your foot in the door. But we have opportunities like this that come across our center, so I just want to encourage you to stay in touch with us. If I know what you're interested in, I can help you get connected with those resources. So now I'm going to open it up briefly for some questions and answers, and this is just going to be informal, and feel free to, either direct your questions to any one of us. Thank you. Yes. Let me see if we have another. I'm going to give you a mic because we have a live audience, if that's okay.
I'm very curious about, ever since the pandemic, we've noticed that, of course, there's been like virtual mentorships and apprenticeships. Like, has Eureka been able to help students through the online interface, considering that the pandemic has caused a lot of projects and a lot of applications and like mentorships to be online?
Sure. So that's a great question, and I'll let Dr. Chowdhury answer.
So I think that was still we are going through a little bit with tough time, but now it has opened up. Now people are in the lab. But what I did personally is from Eureka, we have recommended, we have given the FAST grant for the summer research, and we have made some relaxation that you can change the project in a way that it does not have to be lab oriented. You can make the data analysis, you can collect the data, extract the data from international, public database, and then you can analyze and you can publish that. Like, experience in research is not only in the lab or in the field. There are a lot of data available, publicly available database that you can mine, you can see the pattern, you can discover the pattern. So these kind of things we have pursued during the COVID time. And in fact, actually, we do had, I had in biology also, we had a few mentors who have really very actively engaged through the virtual lab, which means that they were doing lab meeting through virtual. Like I have conducted my virtual lab meeting every Friday, and people have to, explain what they did during that time, during that week. But yeah, it was limited. I do tell you that I didn't like that completely 100% because my lab is 75% wet lab, 25% maybe database lab. So I was looking forward the open lab experience. But yeah, it is. Actually, NSF has funded last year a lot of REU project through virtual means. And they have given opportunity to us because we got awarded the REU grant, national level 10 student we select nationally. And we actually prefer that we will run virtual towards the end. We switch our mind. A lot of people who got selected, they wanted to come on campus. So we actually had the face-to-face, that program. And I think definitely face-to-face has a different experience. Some of the things, missed through that complete virtual. We have conferences right now virtual. That is also all right, but I think face-to-face, you have a lot of face-to-face interaction, personal interactions, a lot of suggestion, a lot of collaboration, and these kind of things. Probably I will consider that this is kind of past. Now we will come into the kind of, face-to-face more. But yes, this has given us a platform now, a new way that we can still pursue the virtual, research lab or virtual research kind of, experience. I do tell you there is a journal now, virtual journal. Like you don't have to publish there and send a paper for review and everything. Everything goes through that process, but the journal is virtual. When you open it, you see the people doing it. Every step they do it. When they discuss hypothesis, they discuss with professor hypothesis on chalkboard. Then they go and try to create design of experiment and do all the experiment. Create the virtual, the visual display and write discussion. Everything is in a virtual way you can hear and you see people doing it. That's kind of, first journal coming from MIT, which is kind of, quite competitive right now, but this is open up this new field.
So, like, what if we have like research ideas and we're not fully sure what direction to go? Will y'all help with us, pairing us with mentors to help with that? Also?
Absolutely. So if you go to shsu.edu/Eureka, I have a find a mentor button. And so what that does is it asks you what your department and what your general interests are. I schedule an appointment with you and I kind of listen where you are, where you want to be, and then we can brainstorm ideas on how to get there. So I can help you find those resources.
Thank you.
Oh, it's in the brochure too, in the bags. So if you didn't get this down, just know it's on there. And we're trying to build more tools like this that you can go online, you know, if you have questions similar to this, and you can directly reach out to our office and be connected. And we hope that we will have some strategies for you all to be connected sooner. You know, if you're transferring the first minute that you're on campus, you know that we're here, and or the first year experience, or your first, you know, during orientation, you're given this type of information. So we are trying to strategize on how we can get it out. But we're hoping that you all will help with that, and then we can continue to build resources so to make that process more transparent and easier.
So, yeah, just real quick, it is 3, so if you have a competing arrangement at 3, just
Feel
let me know
free.
what time it is.
Yeah.
But we have the room, so.
Okay, it's like reproductive. I wanted to look into like a reproductive issue I see a lot of women go through. It's like PCOS. I wanted to do more research on personally, and I wanted to look into medicine in general because I do want to become a pharmacy student soon. So I was just really interested. I don't see a lot of opportunities for that on campus.
Well, I will suggest you there are a lot of faculty who works kind of, you know, human and animal interface. You can talk to Dr. Harper, Jim Harper. You know, like if you want to see the genetic aspect of something, you can talk to me. You can talk to maybe I will suggest Tammy Cook. Yeah, and also there are some faculty in College of Medicine. They can be kind of, you know, they can connect. And actually, Kelby has a right answer. You just give your ideas, and she will find out the kind of, you know, like faculty interest book and connect you through.
Just like another thing to put out there, and I know I just popped up here. I promise I've been sitting here. But if
He
you
works
have-
with us.
So yeah, I promise I work here. But it's a new initiative for us, and our office always takes on new initiatives. But when we do that, Chad kind of alluded to it. We don't want to just build something and give it to you and say, hey, this is what we have for you. We really want to know what pain points you all experience in getting the experiences you want at SAM, and then we'll go build them. As a student, your job is to really be served by us. And we're just wanting to figure out what is it that you're lacking now, and what bridges can we build to get you there. So it doesn't always have to be ideas. It could just be, hey, this was a bad experience, or this has an experience I couldn't get to. How can you help out? We can chip in there too.
I think one idea came up. We are going to talk maybe in our meeting group. I thought that it would be very nice to have just to open a student coming and openly creating just a 1 or 2 minute idea question. I want to do this type of research. And actually this came experience, you know, as a faculty, that we went to a meeting where we have to present in 2 minutes what research idea we have, new research ideas. I think it's a good thing to listen some idea that what kind of research, why you are interested in this kind of research. Maybe we'll talk in the team to have a special session, something, and then we can have 2-3 days like that. That'll be interesting, yeah. You don't have to get involved before in research. You can just talk about ideas, whatever ideas you have. It's good.
Yeah, so this is really just a starting point to open up the dialogue. We're going to hang out around a little bit longer. Was there any online questions that we needed to get to? So for our online audience, no matter when you tune in, if you're live or if you watch this later, please feel free to direct any of the questions towards our office, and we will help you out there. I'm going to go ahead and shut the mics off, but we're going to stand around for a bit. So please, if you didn't get a chance to ask your questions, please come up, introduce yourself so that you know our face, we know your face, and then we can all work together to make this a nice community for us to engage in research and creative activities. Thank you so much for coming.
Mic drop.
You are here to discover.
Inherently curious, prone to wonder, explore, and create.
Driven by moments where you're caught between a problem
and its solution.
We know this. We see it. Late at night in the laboratory, early in the studio. When you ask us questions or show us something you found.
We believe that all men are created equal, yet many are denied equal treatment.
driven by sharing that eureka moment. We're here to listen, encourage, and celebrate with you. The Eureka Center cultivates and supports mentored research and creative activities.
Because we know enhancing your college experience will enrich your future. Your moment is waiting.
What will you discover?